just recording with the grants. But I will be hosting. My name's Jennifer Wong, and I'm the marketing manager here at Imagine Accounting. Much pleasure and very excited to announce our speaker today, Cody Thompson. I've actually been working very closely with Cody and his team for the past 5 years. They actually helped build our website and manage our website and doing a fantastic job, Cody and his team. Cody and his team have helped generate more than 500,000 leads for their clients, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we look forward to learning the tips and tricks from Cody. On a personal note, I know Cody is a father to 2 young girls. He just was telling me the eldest being 4. So they keep him very busy. And I know that Cody gives back in great ways to the community and has a school in the Philippines and does an amazing job. So now I'd like to welcome our speaker, Cody Thompson, the Managing Director of Lightning Sites. Thank you, Cody.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks, guys, for having me here today. I'm really excited to be able to present to you. We've only got a small group of us, obviously, here live, which is really great because at the end of the presentation, I can answer specific questions. I can even take a look at your websites and give you guys a review and hopefully give you some specific advice for your situation. And then for anyone watching this recording, there'll be opportunities if you do want to reach out to us and get some, specific help for your website. We'll give that opportunity as well at the end of the presentation. So, thanks, Jen, for having me here. As Jen mentioned, my name's Cody. I'll give you guys a little bit of background about me. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. Can you see that okay on your side, Jen? You can see my slide deck? Yep, perfect. So a little bit of background about me. As Jen said, my name's Cody. I have 2 daughters, Scarlett on the left and then Madison on the right. Scarlett's 4, Madison's 18 months. That's my wife, Sarah. And we're having another daughter in November. So
Cody.
Thank you. Yeah. So just filling my house with girls, and there's lots of dancing and all in and bows and dresses and stuff in my house. So it's a real lot of fun. So that's my family, and I run a company called Lightning Sites, and we build and manage WordPress websites for our clients. We have over 800 small business clients on our support packages that we help them to use their website to generate more leads in their business. So that's what we do day in, day out. But my background is actually not building businesses. When I finished school, I was a youth pastor running youth programs in the high schools, working with at-risk teenagers that were on the brink of, falling out of school or in difficult situations at home. So that was my background before running a business. And I took on a volunteer position at a local church on the Gold Coast. And they had no money to pay us, my wife and I. So we felt like it was the next step or where we needed to go. And they were doing great things up here on the Gold Coast, and they needed some support and help. And so we decided to move up, and I needed to make some money. So I started freelancing as a graphic designer. And I called myself Design Fox. I had $250 in my bank account. I spent it buying business cards and hosting. I taught myself to build my own website, design my own logo, and started trading as Design Fox. It went pretty well. I made 110 grand in my first 12 months of operating the business, which for me was, astronomical because I was making like $30,000 a year as a youth pastor. So it was certainly a lot more money than I had ever made previously in my life. And since then, the business really grew. After that first 12 months, I was really overwhelmed with the amount of work I was getting. And so I needed some help, and I got connected with some business coaching and started to sort of scale my business and hire other staff. So that was 6 years ago. Today I have 55 staff, 5 in Australia and 50 staff in the Philippines. I own a company in the Philippines. That company is called Sites at Scale, the name of the company in the Philippines. And this is a part of my team that looks after all of my clients every month with their websites. We also finished a new building last year. So we built our own building in the Philippines. It holds up to 120 staff. So we're really excited about this. It's great to have our own space and our own branding and everything like that on the building. And it's just, makes the team really proud when they come to work every day. And so, yeah, we're just gearing up to continue to help more and more clients. As Jen said, though, I'm still very, very passionate about all of the youth stuff that I do. I'm still a part of volunteering at the local church that I'm a part of. And we also have 3 schools in the Philippines that we support. So they're not my schools. They're like existing schools, but they're in remote areas of the Philippines. And they don't get a lot of support and they don't get a lot of funding. And so we, just try to support the students. Just little things like this is a photo of us. It was at Christmas, and we got Christmas presents for all of the kids. A lot of kids don't have shoes, and they would walk to school. I went to visit the school the first time, and I remember driving home from the school. We were in a truck because it's up on the top of a mountain, and I saw all these kids walking home with no shoes on, and I asked my operations manager about it, and he told me that some of the students would walk like 10 kilometers to school every day in bare feet, and then they would put their shoes on when they got to school because they didn't have enough money they didn't want to wear their shoes out walking in them. And so, just little things like that, we try to support those students to, just to make a small impact. So that's a bit about me. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of background. But today, my goal is to teach you the 5 most important areas of your website that you need to improve if you want to get more leads. And so that's really the question today. Who wants more leads on their website? And that's what I'm going to try to teach you guys about. So let me start with a bit of an overview. Firstly, there's a lot more strategies than 5 strategies in terms of how to improve the leads on your website, the effectiveness of your website. And I've covered off some of those strategies in a previous presentation that I've done with Imagine Accounting. And so I didn't want to reiterate some of those things. So let me just spitball a couple of those off for you right away. So firstly, if your site's not loading very quickly, then your load speed has a massive impact on the number of people who are going to connect with you through your website. Mobile responsiveness. If your website is not mobile responsive, if it's not able to be accessed on phones, you're going to miss out on a bunch of leads there. There was so many strategies that I covered. I covered 21 strategies to improve on your website on the previous presentation, but a lot of them were sort of some basic strategies. So if you are wanting to watch that presentation, just reach out to Jen and the team can send you a recording of that. Today, I want to kind of go deeper on the message of your website. How do you design a message on your website that is motivating to get people, when they've landed on your website, engaged with you and your business and eager to take the next step? So that's what I'm going to cover off on today. And there's really 5 elements that I'm going to talk about today. And excuse my design here. I just quickly drew it out for this presentation. So it's a little bit rough, but gives you an idea of those 5 elements. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the problem, connecting with the client about the problem that they're facing. Then we're going to talk about the product, the promise, the proof, and the process. So we're going to cover off on these 5 elements today. So let's get going. So number 1, the first thing you need to do if you want your website to be effective and connect with the audience, you have to connect with the problem that the customer is facing. If your website doesn't identify with the client when they land on your website, so that they know that you understand the challenge that they're facing and what they're trying to achieve, if you can't connect with that, then you're going to lose that customer and they're not going to engage with the message on your website. So the first thing we need to do is make sure we're articulating the problem or the challenge that the customer is facing. They need to know that we understand them, we understand the challenges that they're facing, and we know how to solve it. If we can do that, then we'll connect with them right away. So how do you do that? Well, the first thing you need to do is develop clear brand positioning. Clear brand positioning. Jeffrey Moore said this: positioning is the single largest influence on the buying decision. So what is positioning? Well, positioning really covers the top 3 elements in this triangle. The problem. So what is the problem that the client is facing? What is the product that you offer? And what are the benefits or promises that they get when they work with you? So that's really our positioning comes across those sort of three elements. So let me show you some examples of some websites that we've built and content that we've written. So here's one for a business coaching program, and it says here, let's build your dream business. Want better marketing, easier sales, and bigger profits. So there's the problems. The big problems that they're facing is that is poor marketing, not enough sales, and not enough profit, right? So you want better marketing, easier sales, and bigger profits. Then it's time to join the world's #1 business program. Act now and attend your first business training free. So your positioning really needs to articulate. It's really clear. Okay, what do they do? What is the problem? So what's the problem they're facing? That they don't have good enough marketing, not enough sales, and not enough profits. They're the biggest, pain points that their client has. What is the product that they're selling? Well, it's the world's #1 business program. So they do business program, business education, and the results or the promises that they can improve your marketing, get you more sales and bigger profits. So that's what you want to make sure your positioning statement is really clear. Here's another example from one of my brands. Gym websites that create a flood of begging to join members every single month. Want more members? A great looking website is the first step. Book a free strategy call. So again, what do? Gym websites. What's the big benefit? We create a flood of begging to join members for you every single month. What's the problem they're facing? When gym owners come to me, what do they say to me? They say, I want more members, right? So that's the biggest problem that they're facing, and we help them solve that. And the way we do that is by building them a great website, okay? So that's your positioning. That's the first thing that you need to kind of figure out. Once you figure that out, what is your positioning? Then we need to optimize our welcome panel. So the welcome panel is the first panel that you have on your website, and it needs to have your positioning really, really clearly articulated at the top of that page, whether it be on a mobile phone or on a desktop. The Missouri University of Science said this: it takes about 50 milliseconds for users to form an opinion about your website. So you've got a very, very short period of time to make a good impression when people land on your website. And so we want to make sure that that first piece of real estate is really connecting with the client. So normally, for most, welcome panels, these are the elements that will be at play. There'll be a headline, a byline, and a call to action. That really forms our positioning, and then some sort of graphic which supports that or brings some emotion and engagement to that top panel. So these are the elements that are going to be pretty much on every welcome panel that you build for your website. And there's lots of ways that you can lay it out. You can have like text on the left, with imagery on the right, call to action buttons on the left-hand side there. You could have the text centered. You might have a video in the background or a large image in the background. You might have a call to action for a free resource at the top here, like an opt-in for a lead magnet. You might have a graphic on a screen. You might have a form over the top of the image. If you're a gym or if you're a dance studio, you're offering like a free trial class, something like that. And now here are some examples, some practical examples. So here's one from an education company. This is what their website looked like when we first sort of connected with them. You can see it's not very modern. And there's just a big slab of text. There's lots of things to click on. There's like all these navigation on the left, navigation on the right. It's obviously not a very good website. So when we started working with them, we added, graphic, headline, byline, call to actions, clearer branding, clearer contact details. And of course, it performs a lot better. Here's another example of a company that runs tours in Uluru. And they have like 15 buttons here. So it's almost like choice fatigue, like which one do I click on, and it's also not clear that they run tours of Uluru. You can sort of see it in the branding, but it's very small. The photo of Uluru here is, you can't see the edges of it. So you're not really sure if it is, you don't know straight away that it is Uluru. So the graphics could be much better as well. So when we worked on this website, you can see here, we limited the choices to their 4 most popular tours displayed on the homepage. We used a much bigger image, so it's really clear. We use a way better positioning statement: experience the real outback with Emu Run Experience, Alice Springs, Uluru Tours, and transfers operating daily. So again, super clear what they do, and connects with the challenge or the problem that the client's facing. Okay, the mind space. Again, you can kind of see for yourself. It's not a very good welcome panel. Clearer positioning statement: mental health solutions for individuals, agencies, and communities. We provide compassionate, innovative, and evidence-based support. Book a chat or schedule an appointment. So again, you can just, hopefully you're seeing a bit of a trend here. Here's another example. This is a property buyers agency. They've got a lead magnet, which is a great idea to have on your homepage, but leading with a lead magnet without any positioning just makes you kind of come across as salesy. And their branding, doesn't look very modern. So we modernized their branding, came up with a clearer positioning statement. Let's take the trial and error out of property investing. We help you avoid costly mistakes along the way so you can go straight to building wealth on autopilot. Book a free strategy call or phone us today. So you can see that's a much clearer, welcome panel, clearer positioning around what the brand does, as opposed to just offering a free property report. And there's loads of examples I can give you, maximize your football skill and be the spark. So this is a football coaching, genuine care, real results, person trusted cosmetic clinic. You can sort of start to get an idea of what those websites look like. So the welcome panel is the first part, but typically you'll need more. You'll need some more text space to really dive deep into the challenges that the customer's having. So I would recommend that you utilize the first text section on your website to make sure you're clearly articulating the challenge that they're having. So you can see here, say if I go back to Dales as an example here, you can see we're articulating some of the problems, but we're not really going into detail. And I would suggest that you would need more than just 2 lines to really kind of connect with the challenge that the customer is facing. So let me show you some examples. Here's one from my website. And so it says here, attention business builders, join the top 3% of business owners with websites that convert traffic into quality leads and sales every day. And then I go into the problem. So here's where I'm starting to talk about the problem that everybody tells me when they call to talk to me about a website. These are the problems that everyone tells me all the time. So like, have you been let down by other website developers who overpromise and under-deliver? First of all, if that's the case, we're sorry to hear it. Sadly, we hear countless horror stories about people paying thousands of dollars and getting peanuts in return, etc. So I go through the pain point, and then I start to articulate or introduce my service as a solution. So good news is those days are gone, and it's all thanks to Lightning Sites. We're the only website builder in the world that guarantees to build your WordPress website 15 days or it's free. Not only that, instead of forking out thousands of dollars of hard-earned cash, etc. So I really articulate the problem, and then we introduce the solution and tell them what to do next. Here's another example from one of our clients: is cancel making your head hurt. If you're feeling overwhelmed or drowning in endless paperwork and compliance, you're not alone. If you're not a town planner, dealing with council can be a nightmare, not to mention very expensive. Plus, we're pretty sure you have better things to do. That's where we fit. It's what we do all day, every day, with a team of 10 plus highly knowledgeable town planners and architects. We're great at what we do. Plus, to help streamline projects, we also support our clients with the help of our in-house architect and draftsman. So it's really clear, the problem that they solve for you. Here's another example: is your business more struggle than success? So depending on your industry, depends on how direct you want to be, in terms of your problem. Let's say you're a cosmetic clinic. You're not going to put on your website, like, do you feel ugly? Right? You're not going to be like, or if you're a gym, you're not going to put on there like, are you sick of feeling fat? Like, you probably, unless your branding is very abrasive, you're probably not going to, articulate it like that. But you want to make sure that they understand you understand them, that you understand the challenge that they're facing. So depending on your tone of voice will depend on how direct you are, but we need to make sure we connect with the challenge that they're facing. Once we've done that, number 2, we need to show them that our product or service solves that problem for them. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with how you plan your website. The planning of your website, the pages that you're going to have on your website, the navigation of your website, that's where we have to start to make sure that we're clearly showing the services and or products that we sell that solve that problem for them. So Donald Miller said this: if you confuse, you lose. When your message is confusing, your marketing will fail. So the first step of articulating your services is making sure you clearly understand and define the services that you offer in your business. Sometimes when I'm working with small business owners to build their website and I ask them, what do you do? They might have an answer that takes 10 minutes to explain. We need to solve that. it needs to take like, it needs to take a couple of seconds to explain the different services that we offer, not 10 minutes. So we need to make sure that we clearly think that through. So there's a tool that I like to use. It's called Glue Maps, or I think that's how you would say it, Glue Maps, GLOOMAPS. And it's a great little tool that you can use to map out the pages on your website using a simple mind mapping tool like this. So this would be, if you haven't, started building your website, or if you're looking at doing, a rework on your website, this is a great place to start to figure out, what pages do I need? And you don't have to have, simple headings like services and about. You might have, what we do, who we are, you can be more creative with the headlines, but that's just an example of how you could kind of map out like what pages do I actually need to articulate, what we do in our business. Once you've kind of figured that out, and by the way, that's something that your web developer should be helping you with. If you're working with a good web developer, this should be right at the start of the process, when they're working with you on building your website. It should be like one of the first things. Once they understand your business, this should be one of the first things that they're doing. Once you've done that, you want to carefully design out the page layouts. So what we do is a process called wireframing, where you map out the message of all of the pages to make sure that you understand the strategy of how, of what the purpose of each page is and what information is going to be displayed on those pages. And then once we've done that, we want to make sure that particularly the area that talks about our product or service, we want to make sure that it's crystal clear. So you want to have a panel on your homepage that clearly articulates the different service offerings that you have. So we connect with their pain point, we introduce the solution, and then we have to show them what those solutions are. So here's an example of one of our clients. They do art hanging systems, installational services, lighting systems, modular walls, exhibition equipment hire, and art storage. So they're the 6 kind of areas of their business. So you want to highlight that on the homepage of the website. Here's another example from one of our clients. They only have one service. So after articulating or connecting with the customer's problem, we go straight into introducing the solution. So these guys, all they do is teach people how to launch their own podcast. They don't have multiple services. They just offer one service. So you might have a panel like this on the homepage of your website instead. Here's another example. I haven't got any text in here yet because I'm just working on this one at the moment. But this gym, all they do is personal training, right? So on the website, we don't have to have multiple sections of different services. We can just have one section that talks about the service that they offer. Here's another example. If you have products that you're selling, you might want to actually show specifically, the popular solutions or products that you offer that solve that problem. Okay, number 3. So just to recap, number 1, we connect with their problem. Number 2, we introduce our product or service as a solution. Number 3, we need to make your promise of value crystal clear to the customer. So what are the benefits, big benefits that they get when they work with us, as opposed to working with our competitors? And what guarantees or promises can we make around the return on the client's investment? So that's what we want to kind of make sure we're doing next. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure our written content, our copywriting is focused on the benefits to the customer. So you might want to consider adding a specific section on your homepage that highlights those main benefits. You want to also attach benefits to every headline on your website. So for example, here's a headline from a website where they've got a feature. The feature is automation, powerful marketing automation. But you don't want to just have the headline is automation. You want to attach that to a benefit. So they've done that here. Automation gives you back your time, right? So they're attaching the feature to a benefit that the customer wants, rather than just selling based on features. You want to make sure that the customer understands the value that those features are going to provide to them. David Ogilvy, who's known as the father of all advertising, he ran a massive advertising agency called Ogilvy in New York. And if you've seen the TV show like Mad Men and those TV shows, they're basically based on David Ogilvy and his company. And he said this: on the average, 5 times as many people read the headline as read the body copy. Therefore, it follows if you don't sell your product in your headline, you've wasted 80% of your money. When I go on clients' websites or people that are kind of engaging with us for the first time, a lot of the time their headlines are very lazy. Like they'll just focus on, highlighting the feature without really talking about the benefits, or not just adding any, powerful or engaging content to their headlines. So for example, let's just pretend we're a dance studio. A poor headline would be kids dance lessons. At least it tells us what the section's about. That's good, but it could be more optimized if we added some benefits to it. So for example, kids dance lessons that will enhance their skills and encourage confidence, because that's ultimately what the parent wants, right? They want or another one would be, kids dance lessons that are fun and engaging, for example, because you don't have to think about what does the parent want when they're, looking at a dance studio. Here's another example: performance dance teams. That could be optimized to expert tuition for aspiring dance champions. So expert, aspiring champions, they're powerful words rather than just having a basic headline. Here's another classic one that a lot of people will have on their website. They'll just have a heading: testimonials, but you're missing out on attaching some credibility in that headline. So you could do something like, we've taught over 10,000 children to dance. And then underneath that, you could have the testimonials. And you can see that that's so much more powerful because it's attaching some credibility to the headline. So you want to make sure every headline on the website is optimized. It's interesting when you actually watch people using websites. So we use a piece of software called Hotjar to watch user sessions. And that's really how we got good at building websites for clients. I watched hundreds, thousands even of hours of videos of people using our clients' websites. And one thing that you'll notice is people will often what they call like scan the page, and they'll read the headlines, and only once they've read the headlines, they'll go back to the top of the web page and read the rest of the content. So if you're not like adding engaging headlines, then when people scan the website, they're not going to really understand, who you are and what you do. Then you want to make sure you take control of comparisons. If you're trying to, again, remember, we're trying to articulate our promise or our value to the customer. So one way to do that is to take control of comparisons. So you might use like comparison tables. So for example, here I'm comparing, our service with other web developers to try to articulate our value in compared to our competitors. And this is important because in most industries, you will have direct competitors. Not always. Sometimes you'll have a product that's completely unique, and you'll have a niche that you're kind of like in, and you're not really competing with anyone else. But if you are competing with other people, then you have to understand that people are going to compare you to others. And so taking control of those comparisons is useful. You can make sure that they're comparing apples with apples when they're looking at your or hearing about your price, for example, compared to your competitors. One of the complaints or problems or issues that small businesses often say to me is that they always feel like they're competing on price. And if you're competing on price when you're like on a sales call with a client, the reason for that is you haven't articulated the value. It's never really about what you charge. It's always about like how well you are articulating the value. If you can articulate the value in a way that the client knows that they're going to get an incredible return on investment, then it's not usually about the money. It's more about understanding the value. So we want to make sure we're doing that on our website. Another way we can alleviate skepticism and risk for the customer is by adding a promise or a guarantee. So for example, here's one from one of our clients: our 100% no risk, you win guarantee. We're so confident this is the perfect way for you to design and launch your podcast that if you finish your first group coaching session and you're not convinced this is the program for you, we'll offer you a full, no strings attached refund for your enrollment fee. So that's an easy way to alleviate any risk, that the customer is feeling about your product or service. And of course, they're more likely to engage with you. Okay, number 4, show the process to get started and how you get results. So just to recap, number 1, connect with their problem. Number 2, show that your product or service is a solution. Number 3, articulate the value or the promises that you're solution offers. And then number 4, show them how to get started and that you do have a process to make sure that you're getting these results for clients. So how do you do that? Well, you need to make sure that you choose the call to actions on your website really clearly, particularly the ones on your welcome panel. Small Business Trends said this: 70% of business websites lack a call to action on their homepage. In other words, 3/4 of every small business on their website is not telling people how to get started or what to do next. And so that's an alarming number. It's true from the websites that I review. It's definitely, the majority of websites are lacking that key ingredient. So when you're looking at good quality websites, you'll see that they always have a clear, next step. In the way they've designed their interface, it's always crystal clear. Here's an example of one of our clients' websites that didn't have a crystal clear starting process on their welcome panel. And they do have a button here, join us today, but it's overshadowed by the rest of the design. There's only really bright colors here. And so your eyes are drawn to these logos. And then these look like buttons, or they are buttons, in fact. And so they're bigger than the call to action button here. And so they distract from the main call to action. So when we worked on this website, what we did is we added a call to action to book a free intro session right at the top of the page, as opposed to here. And the results are incredible. In fact, Kane got 350 trial classes booked in 6 weeks. Now, not all of that. I don't want to claim, all of that on the website, because Kane's also a good business operator. So he was doing his own, marketing as well. But this was 10 times more leads than they received in the 6 weeks, the same 6-week period that the previous year. And the leads were before the Australian Open. Normally, they get most of their leads after the Australian Open in January, whereas we were getting these leads, before that Australian Open took place. So achieving a better welcome panel will help you to generate a whole bunch more leads on your website. You could also consider adding a getting started block on your homepage. So for example, step 1, step 2, step 3. So it might be, step 1, claim a free trial class. Step 2, experience Vita tennis for yourself. Step 3, join the Vita tennis family, or something like that. So you might have like just a block that clearly articulates, if you want to get started with us, then these are the 3 steps to do it. You want to make sure that your contact information is easy to find. If people are wanting to get started with you, opening hours, contact details, social media accounts, you want to make sure that they're easy to find. Typically, you want to make sure they're in the footer. If you want to get phone calls, you want to add it to the top navigation, to the top menu bar at the top of the page. So you want to make sure that they're really easy to find. You want to make sure you add call to actions throughout all of your education content. So if you've got a blog post, if you've got blogs on your website, you want to make sure that you're adding call to actions throughout all of your content. There should be a purpose for every piece of content you put on your website, and it should drive them back to the next step that you want them to take in their buying journey. You should consider using scheduling systems. If you've got free phone bookings or consultations, make it as easy as possible for people to book in those times. So scheduling softwares like this are great because people can book straight in. They get automatic confirmation emails, text messages, all that type of stuff to make sure they show up to the events. You want to limit the form fields that you're asking people to fill out on the getting started form. So if you've got like opt-in forms, you want to make sure you're limiting the number of fields that you're asking for. The more fields that you ask for, the less leads that you'll get. So you want to only ask for the fields that are necessary. I think last one here, if you are showing pricing, make sure it's well structured and easy to see the value. So if your business does show pricing for the services or for the products that you offer, then make sure that it is really, really clear. Don't have heaps and heaps of options. Like I was working with a gym the other day and they had 15 different pricing options. All that's going to do is confuse people when they land on the website. And so I would suggest as a business owner, you should get rid of some of those pricing options. But if you don't want to get rid of them, then you definitely don't want to display them on your website. Otherwise, it will just confuse people. So make sure that if you are going to show pricing, it's clear and it's easy to see the value, what's included in the plans. And then the last one here, show you have a process for delivering your service. So for example, you might have like alternating blocks somewhere on your website. Here's an example where we've got like week 1, we're going to do this, week 2, we're going to do this, and you can just alternate those down the page. So if you had like a process page or how we work, or our process, you might have a page like that on your website, and you could say articulate the process of the areas that you kind of take people through. So week 1, we're going to do this, week 2, we're going to do this, or, step 1, we're going to do this, step 2, we're going to do this. And you can see here, I've also attached a testimonial to each step, so that what we articulate here, we're then putting a testimonial in that backs up our claim of what what we're going to do in this first part of our process. So this is just one example of how you could lay it out. But if you can show people you've got a clear, repeatable process, it gives them confidence that, okay, these guys have done this before, they've really thought about how they're going to deliver the value. And so it's, there's less risk to them that you're going to take them on and then not be able to achieve the results for them. Okay, number 5, last but not least, you need to show irrefutable proof that you have achieved these results for clients. So once we're showing the process, we need to prove our claims. It's one thing to tell people that it's one thing to tell people promise them the value and benefits, but it's another thing to prove it. People are skeptical. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there marketing in your industry, in my industry, that are saying that they can get all kinds of great results for customers, but you need to be able to prove it. If you can't prove it, then people are going to be skeptical and less likely to engage with you. So how do you prove your claims? Well, one way is you can show where you've been featured. If you've been featured in magazines, if you're an expert and you've written content for different magazines, or they've told your story in different articles or publications, then that's a great way to do it. Or maybe you've worked with big companies before. Maybe you're a consultant and you've worked with McDonald's, and you've worked with Starbucks, and you've done all these, worked with these big companies, recognizable brands. Or maybe you're an agent, and you've worked with you're a sports agent and you've worked with these sporting teams. You've worked with you've worked with the Hawks at Hawthorn, or you've worked with the Titans rugby league team, and you can show those logos. It adds credibility to the work that you've done. You could also consider adding written testimonials. Testimonials are a great way to show what you've gotten for other clients before, including a photograph, the person's name, the company. All those things add extra credibility to the testimonial. If you don't have photos, if you don't have real names, real companies, then of course people doesn't alleviate as much skepticism, because they could be fake testimonials. So the more real that you can make it, the better. Real people, real results. Here's another example, of a testimonial, testimonial section on a website. There's lots of different ways you can do written testimonials. You could take that to another level, and you could add video testimonials. Videos are even more powerful than text testimonials, because it tells a greater story. They're less hard, they're hard to fake, and so they just add even more credibility. Case studies and past success. If you can show examples of customers or businesses that are using your solution and the results that they've achieved, then that again adds more credibility that you can get those same results for them if they were to engage with you. Using statistics is another way you can do it. If you've got if you've done a survey, or you've surveyed your clients, or there's an external survey that someone else has put together, using statistics and studies is a great way to articulate the results you've been able to get for customers. Social review badges. If you've got good reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp, TripAdvisor, things like that, displaying those on your website adds more credibility. Live user data is another way that you can prove the results you're getting. So this is, for example, you can have things pop up on your website. You would have seen this a lot before with things like airlines or hotels. You go to their website and it says, 5 people are looking at this same hotel room, or 10 people booked this same hotel room in the last 24 hours. Those types of things are a great way to I suppose, add some positive peer pressure to people to get them to take the next step. Photo galleries and portfolios is another way that you can prove your claims. So using photographs, or if you're a graphic designer, for example, or a photographer, using portfolios, or if you're an architect, showing photos and plans. Those are ways that you can add more credibility, so people can see the results for themselves. So they're the 5 things that I wanted to kind of go through with you today. Number 1 is articulating the problem, making sure the customer understands the problem so make sure that the customer knows that you understand them and the problem or challenge that they're facing. Number 2, that your product or service solves that problem. Number 3, that you've got clear promises or return on investment, great benefits to the customer. That's the next important thing. Then you want to prove it. You want to prove those results, that you can get those results for them. And then you want to show them the process to get started. So they're the 5 things that you want to kind of make sure that you cover off when you're designing a website. So let me just quickly show you. I'll just give you a quick demo, if you like, of how that kind of works in the real world on a website. So let me just share my screen. I'll share my whole screen here. So typically when we're building a website for a customer, what we'd be doing is we would be wireframing out the site to make sure that we're covering off on those elements. So let's just say, I'll just show you as an example. If we were to have like a hero section, we would we would maybe drop a section in like that with your positioning statement. Maybe you've got a good promo video. Then we want to talk about the pain points. So maybe we have a text section. So we could have something like this that we could add on the homepage. Then we might want to introduce your services. So let's say you've got a suite of different services. You've got let's say you've got 3 offerings or three solutions that you offer. Then we might add like a text and image section to highlight those 3 services. Well, let's just say, to make it simple, I'll just put the 2 here. Let's say you've got like 2 main services that you offer. Actually, we'll just do the 3. That works well. So you might have your positioning. You might have the pain, you might have the products or solutions that you offer. Then you might have, let's say we want to put in some social proof. So we've got the solution. We need some benefits and we need some social proof. So let's just grab some featured icons. So we might highlight our promise. Like, what's our promise? We might put a section that's like, the 6 reasons to choose us, for example. We might put that section. And at the start, I'm not overly worried about necessarily the colors that are going to be used. I just want to make sure I understand the structure that I want to put in place. And then once I've got sort of the elements, I want to then kind of go back and then add some social proof. So typically I would sprinkle social proof throughout the website. So I would want to mainly cover off on the pain, the product, the benefits, and then how do you get started. So how you get started might even just be like a text and image section. Like, we might actually just, rather than having step 1, step 2, step 3, we might actually just like have a section at the bottom of the page that that talks about like, what's your next step. So we might add that at the bottom of the page, and then we're going to have a footer at the bottom of the page. So typically when we're working with a client, this is the type of thing we would spend a lot more time on it, but I would spend sort of like an hour working with a client to kind of map out all of their pages. But just try to give you a bit of a demo here. You can sort of see how the site would kind of take shape. So once we've got the elements that we need, we just want to add some social proof. So maybe we've got some great testimonials that we could add on the website. So I might grab that. So let's say they've got written testimonials. And then we've got the benefits that they're going to get. And then maybe they've worked with maybe this business has worked with some great companies. So we might put like a featured logo section. So we might have that. We've got sort of some credibility there with the testimonials. We've got some benefits. We might sort of like, let's just say maybe they, if they've got, say, like, maybe if they've got, say, some case studies, you might sort of like show the clients that they've worked with, and you might actually display a couple of their past case studies above. So that might be the last section you have on this page. So let me just grab an example. Let's say I've got some case studies here. There we go. So essentially, that's how you kind of construct a homepage with those sort of principles in play. You've got sort of like your positioning statement here, and then your main call to action. And then let's say they've got a promo video. If they didn't have a promo video, then that section would just disappear. Then we've got our pain point. We want to articulate the pain point, the pains and challenges that the client's facing. We want to start to introduce the solution. Then we want to articulate specifically what are our services or solution. Obviously, this wouldn't be the headline. I'm just as an example, so you can see. I'll just put it here: services. Then we've got here. I'll put the word I used in my presentation. So that would be where you'd highlight the product, and then we want to sprinkle some proof throughout the site. And this is the promises or benefits, and this is more proof with case studies. And some more proof here. And then here's the process. Or you could use a similar process panel that I showed before, like a getting started panel, like step 1, step 2, step 3. So essentially, that's how you want to kind of articulate the message on your homepage. There's lots of ways you can do it, but just making sure that those 5 elements are in play. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover off on today. And we've got a small group of us here on the call, so I'm happy to answer any questions. And then, of course, if you are interested in sort of getting some support with your website, we're more than happy to jump on a call and have a chat with you guys. It's a no pressure conversation. If you do want us to have a look at your website, if you're watching this recording and you're kind of interested in connecting with us, you can just go to our website, lightningsites.com/call. And there's a booking calendar there. You can book in 15 minutes to have a chat with one of my team. And they have direct access to my calendar. So your first conversation will be with one of my team members. But if you have a more kind of complicated situation, you want to chat directly with me, they can also, rebook you into a time with me. So that's it for today. So Jen, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to answer any questions if guys on the call, want to kind of have me answer any questions, or I can look at even some of the websites. If there's people that are on the call today and they want me to kind of review their site, I'm more than happy to answer those questions or review any websites.
Well, thank you so much, Cody. That was amazing. I mean, I know I've used you extensively for both Imagine Accounting and for NAFA's website, which we're really pleased about. As Cody mentioned, so yes, Cody's feel free to reach out directly to Cody and his team. And as Cody's mentioned, there is a small group today. I know that we're recording this, but if you've got questions and you want Cody to look directly at your website, feel free to pop it in the chat or ask Cody now. But otherwise, thank you so much, Cody, for your time. That was excellent. Excellent insights. I've made some notes myself.
Great.
So yeah, I love the comparison sheet that you said. Like every service, most people have got competitors. And so if you like face that straight up, and do a comparison sheet, that's really handy, because we know, like, in this internet day and age, it's so easy for people to research, compare, contrast to competitors.
Exactly, especially if you're displaying pricing. If you're like, if you're making your pricing like public, then articulating making sure that they understand the value first before you show your pricing is really important. Otherwise, you'll price yourself out of the market. So yeah, that's really important.
Okay, well, thank you, Cody. If we don't have any questions,
I've just got a couple questions.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess we're in a tricky situation with, I'm part of a social enterprise called Communitia, and we're a platform that brings together not-for-profits, corporate volunteers, and also just individuals together to work on projects, skilled volunteering projects. So I guess we're in this unique situation where we're often speaking to these 3 different groups with 3 different motivations.
Right.
Often there's I think we've broken it down into very specific personas of, there's like 3 different people per group. So like potentially 9 different voices to speak to. So I think we often find that we're being too general or being being too specific. So it's difficult to balance that, I think, especially on our homepage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, how would you navigate speaking to those three different audiences? And I guess on our homepage, feel free to have a look, but we've kind of tried to make it general and then direct people to the relevant web page that speaks to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to, if you want to paste your website link, I can look specifically at your site. If you like, I can give you some specific advice, but that's a great question. And that's a question that I get like a lot. Sometimes you need to have a separate page, you know, for the different audiences. Like, I'll just show you an example. Like here's one for a bookkeeping company that, you know, that, and their main clients are small businesses, but also like accounting firms, because they basically have like an offshore accounting like bookkeeping service. And so they have, you know, they have 2 pages. So we have to have like a who we help section and like a page that speaks to each of those audiences. So sometimes you need to break up the people that you're talking to. Like if you have sort of like completely different people that you're talking with. Otherwise, you can make sure that you're more general on the homepage and then have like those additional like pages on the inside of the site. So another example would be, if I just quickly share my screen again, trying to think of someone who's like more in line with your type of business. These guys work with they do government work and also work with like larger corporations, and they have a lot of different people that would be landing on their website. They're called EcoSave, and they do like they help basically they're trying to help people to have like less emissions. So they do a lot of stuff with government, and then they have a lot of businesses and stuff like that. So the home page for this type of business has to be very general. Sorry, it's just loading in a minute. It'll load here. So so it's all about slashing emissions, saving costs, and achieving net zero. So for these guys, their homepage has to be more about like credibility and showing the breadth of work that they've done. So we might focus more. We still focus on the service offerings, and we showing some credibility of the types of partners that they've worked with. But projects for these guys is really important. Like showing like past projects that they've been a part of, like is really important. And then once you kind of get onto these inner service pages, it can be sort of more direct in terms of like the benefits. The benefits can be more direct once you're on the service page, because you know the types of people that would be engaging with those particular pages. So I hope, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, like I think a couple of ideas that have sparked throughout this have been like looking at the homepage. We have some testimonials there and some, but there could be a lot more presence, I think. And I think, I mean, our platform facilitates all these people in an ecosystem, in a community. So I think it's just a general, like, I mean, everyone doesn't want to feel like the first one. So I think it's just feeling like there's others there, and maybe trying to have some kind of evidence or section that showcases, how many people are on the platform, a few logos. Like we do have some recognizable charities and corporates as well, where the logos would definitely be familiar to, most people. So putting that information up there to show a bit of a track record, I think might be the missing piece.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up one other example, because we did one for I'm just trying to find the brand. So just give me 1 second. They run similar to what sounds like they run like a community of they're called ACTA, and they're it's like a center for like textiles. It's like all about sustainable practice within like the textiles, like clothing and things like that. Let me just see if I can find the design. But in a similar way, the projects and it's a lot about the capabilities and then the past project involvement on the homepage, and it's like general benefits that the customers are kind of going to get. And then once you kind of get into the middle pages, you can kind of talk more specifically. Let me just share my screen. Where am I? Yeah, so these guys, Australian Australasian Circular Textiles Association, the voice of the industry. So they have like making it easy, making a difference, making noise. These are like their three kind of key benefits. And then it talks about their mission. And then we just go straight away into showing projects, you know, of projects that they've been a part of. And we're showing like the logo of the, you know, the organization that they're involved with, because they do like workshops, they do keynote speaking, they actually involved in rolling out some of the projects, lobbying the government, all kinds of stuff like that. And then we actually have separate pages that we're building for them, one for private industry, one for charities, one for recyclers, and one for government. And then when they click on those, we're speaking directly to that person. Does that make sense? So on the homepage, it's more about credibility, and then overall benefits. And then we can only be more direct once we get them to kind of click through to one of the other inner pages.
Yeah, because I think we definitely have a lot of stories that we haven't been able to tell yet, and I hope we will be able to collect that in the next few months. But often we do have all these stakeholders working together on particular projects or campaigns or something like that. So I suppose we have stories like that that could intersect with those different audiences, and maybe it's pulling more of that evidence out.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just on your website at the moment. I think that's probably the part that's lacking, would be just like I showed you with like projects and case studies, and just think of your homepage more about building credibility. And then you've got like these other pages like universities, not-for-profits, corporates, where you can speak directly to their challenges. On the homepage, it's really going to be more about just building the credibility of the brand and the projects that you're involved with, so that people are inspired about the overall goal of what you're trying to achieve, and then they can then click through to their specific area of the site. I think that's going to be the way that I would tackle it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks.
Is there any other questions that people had? If not, that's cool.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you again, Cody.
No worries, Jen. Appreciate you having me.
Welcome. Pleasure. Okay, we'll chat soon. Well, thank you everyone for attending as well.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Great. Bye.